Welcome, everyone. Maybe while we're waiting for everyone, maybe some people can show a bit of reaction of how you feel right now. You can go with this icon or some others, clapping, you feel excited, some celebratory, I think, thumbs up button or anything like that, just to see the climate of the room. Good. We have some people from outside of Indonesia as well. Good afternoon for participants in Indonesia. Good morning from participants in Europe, and good evening for everyone else in everywhere else of the globe. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We will wait 2 more minutes. Welcome, welcome, participants who just joined us. Wait 1 more minute, maybe. Welcome, thank you for joining us. We have 1 more minute before we officially start, and welcome everyone. Thank you. Okay. Okay, maybe I'll just start then. Now, okay, now is the 4.2 Sustainability and Resilience Workshop is officially started. Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Welcome to 4.2 Sustainability and Resilience Workshop titled Clean Energy Transition and Land Use Mitigation in Indonesia. My name is Amanda Ramadhani, a part of from SHURIKO research team, and I will be the moderator for today. I am very pleased to meet and welcome you virtually here in today's workshop. Before we start, I would like to give a general overview of today's workshop. As many of you have learned from the invitation and email reminders that this 4.2 workshop is a continuation of our kickoff event that was held in March of this year. So our goal of this workshop is still the same. We aim to introduce SHURIKO projects and also find where and how SHURIKO could support Indonesia policy process in relation to clean energy transition and decarbonization. And for this workshop specifically, this 4.2 will be focusing on this main session, our FGD, focus group discussion, where all participants can have a more focused discussion on each project and finding how we could find a potential collaboration opportunity in the future. Yes, and for this workshop, I would also like for everyone to know that this workshop is a part of a bigger event called Open Government Week, which is held by the Open Government Indonesia. And on behalf of SHURIKO, we would like to thank the Committee of Open Government Indonesia for inviting us and supporting the coordination and make this workshop to be possible. Thank you very much. Okay, now that it's officially started, I would like to first and foremost thank all the speakers who will be presenting today. Thank you for all the time and effort you come to for preparing and presenting for today's workshop. First, we have our Dr. Takeshi Takama, the CEO and founder of SHURIKO. We will also have Pa Arif Wibowo from the Directorate of Climate Change Adaptation from Ministry of Environment and Forestry. And last but not least, we have our research team, Cynthia Ismail, Siti Indriani, and Fabian Wiro Pranoto, who will be presenting our ongoing and upcoming projects. Thank you so much. Second of all, we would like to thank all the support from the participants who have joined us for the last kickoff, and also all the participants who we have here today. Thank you for your support. Thank you for allocating the time to be here at the workshop. We really value your insight and participation in this upcoming FGD on this workshop. And hopefully by the end of this workshop, we will find a collaboration opportunity in the future. Thank you very much for joining us here. Okay, next, before we start, I would also want to introduce the sequence of the day. So this workshop is a 2-hour workshop divided into 3 main sessions. First is introduction of SHURIKO, as well as its projects, namely Tipping Plus, Landmark, and IKI Small Grant on Biogas Initiative. The second is focus group discussion, where participants will go into the smaller group, and in each room we'll be focusing on more specific project and to find potential collaboration with all the stakeholders. And the third session is a closing presentation by the Honorable Pa Arif Wibowo about the role of NGO in climate change adaptation efforts. Yes. Next is for this workshop, we also have the rule of the day. First, we would kindly ask for all the participants to please rename your Zoom account with this format shown here, name dash your organization. You can also see the examples over there. We can use my example name, Amanda dash SHURIKO, which is the organization I'm representing. Please do so. Second is that, as many of you know, during the presentation, introduction, and closing presentation by Pa Arif Wibowo, all the participants will be muted, and there will also be attendance and consent form that will be sent out by our team in the chat box. So please do fill that out so that we can send you the materials, presentation materials, as well as the report that will be follow up after the event. Fourth, during the FGD, all the participants may use slido.com and reactions to share their comments and ask questions. If you can scan the QR code right now, that will be great, so that throughout the whole session you can put down your question there, and we will collect them and then discuss it right after the FGD. And if you're having trouble with scanning the QR code, you can also go to slido.com and enter that number over here, 42 SHURIKO, SURECO. Okay, that's a bit rules for the FGD. And at the end of the session, we would also kindly ask the participants to please fill out the feedback form, which will be sent out by our team as well. It will be a short feedback form for us to improve the workshop in the future. And lastly is that our team will ask 5 volunteers to give out a short testimony of today's workshop so that we can collect it and also improve and share it with share it for the public of how this workshop went. Okay, so this is a general rule for today. Please, the most important thing is please do rename your account so it will be easier for us to identify you for the breakout room. Okay. Okay, now we are going into the first session, SHURIKO Introduction by Dr. Takeshi Takama. And again, if you have any question, please do put it here. Okay, please, Dr. Takeshi Takama, the time and place is yours.
Okay, can you hear the slide? Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting SHURIKO for this event. My name is Takeshi Takama. I'm a founder and a CEO of SHURIKO. I'm originally from Japan, and since kids I have a computer at home, and then I come from rural area, so it's very natural to study environmental things, but a bit more techie way. So luckily I got the PhD from Oxford, and then after the PhD from Oxford, I work as a full-time researcher at the Stockholm Environment Institute. Then about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, JICA, Japanese government, sent me to Indonesia for the biggest climate change project. That's the reason I came to Indonesia. And then after the project, I started SHURIKO. So actually, it's beyond the SHURIKO. I've been working in Indonesia government nearly 12 years, including Bappenas, BMKG. So as well as the story of SHURIKO, it is part of the story of Indonesia government as well. So for previous project, I know this is one of the event I did with Bappenas. So previously we work on the climate change project is called Trans-Risk and Green Win. Trans-Risk is finding out the transformative pathway for the climate change. And the Green Win as well as the green economy is climate change. And we are invited to the bilateral meeting with EC and ASEAN. And we present our result with the Bappenas officer. And then the result was also presented at a COP 2024 before Corona. As a result of the project, we helped Bappenas to have a cooking stove initiative as a national target. So this is the first time Indonesia have a cooking stove as a national target in the midterm development plan. And not only this kind of activity, we also organize educational program. We more on the remote educational program, but before Corona, we also ran this more physical education program with Bappenas, BMKG. We still running climate field school BMKG, and most of our work in SHURIKO is climate change and energy. So what is the situation in Indonesia? Okay, this is rather conservative scenario of climate change in Indonesia. So even conservative scenario, it's pretty red. Red means climate change happening in Indonesia. Indonesia will be hotter the pre-industrial period, at least 1 degree, or some area become 1.5 degree. Then it also affects the precipitation as well. Some areas, some part is become drier, and then northern part is become wetter. So Indonesia will be impacted to climate change. At the same time, Indonesia also responsible to reduce CO2. In fact, Bapenas has a low carbon development strategy. And so this is a part of government plan as well. And the many said it's not possible to reduce CO2. We have to, it has been the case since the corona. But what happened to corona? After corona, we actually see the drop in the emission reduction globally. So this is about 7%. Time-wise, we actually went back 15 years ago. So it's not the ideal scenario, but actually it's possible to reduce CO2. And this is very much related to the human activity. And the BMKG, Indonesia Meta Office, has been studying this. So it's locally, during NUPI, several years they check the CO2 reduction during NUPI. And then the study actually shows that CO2 could be reduced as much as 33%. So even locally, it's proven that the climate change is possible to reduce. But having said that, Indonesia also has a mandate to grow. Still, this is a young country, we still have to grow. So that's the reason Indonesia has a low carbon development strategy. This saying, this is a before corona scenario, so this has not been updated, but the scenario, low carbon development strategy says Indonesia could reduce CO2 43%, which is more than the government promised to IPCC. And with 6% of GDP growth. So Indonesia has to achieve both. That is a bit unique scenario compared to advanced country. Advanced country not expecting 6% growth. But during Corona, what happened is actually we see the minus reduction, 2.2 minus. Yeah, its minus is not good, but still, like it is better than advanced countries. For example, I think Japan had announced the GDP estimate 2 days ago. It said minus 4.6. So compared to Japan, for example, much better scenario. Having said that, this is an estimate from World Bank. World Bank said that Indonesia might be this year 4.4, and even next year 4.6. So it's still in this scenario, Indonesia cannot reach this 6%. So that is Indonesia have to think about it. And also, there's some uncertainty comes. This we might need to study in the Tipping Plus project, which Shinsha is going to explain after my presentation. So what is a tipping phenomenon? Tipping phenomenon is a type of the phase change scenario. So okay, this is the Indonesia, like maybe it's a bit more complicated, but something things phase change. It might be gradual change. Sometimes it's like suddenly changes. And for example, we are now seeing something interesting. For example, 2020, so last year, number of bankrupt company is less than 2019 in many countries, because government has been supporting company does not bankrupt. So this is might be situation something like this, I call critical slowdown. So if this support from government collapse, maybe something suddenly goes down. Going down could be economy, or another show that in the previous slide here, it could be CO2 reduction as well. So this may not be, again, ideal scenario, but this kind of phase change, we might be seeing that. In fact, we now seeing that stock market, cryptocurrency market is wavering, right? It's not just going up like end of last year. So if this is a critical slowdown phase, tipping phenomenon might be coming after that. So, and that's just another information. Indonesia is one with only the major country coal usage is still increasing. Of course, China is India is much larger. I mean, South Africa is more, but those countries all going down. Even India is kind of going down now. I think soon it's Indonesia will take over China. But again, Indonesia has a mandate to grow. Also, I understand Indonesia has a cheap coal, but same in China, right? But China has a different, is going to different pathway. So Indonesia, maybe, it's time to think about this, if this is the ideal condition to keep going up. And macro scale, we also supporting pharma. This is our biogas digestion. So this currently we giving away, but we are thinking how we can make this business more sustainable. Then this will be studied in the landmark project, as well as a German, newly coming German project, which Fabian will explain. So this is biogas digester. I just quickly show that. So this farmer sent us this video.
Sudah.
So the cow pig manure going into this system. Then just going forward. So you see the fire. So actually you can cook. This is renewable energy. So this is something we're supporting. So as a result, we got organic fertilizer, and then biosolar can be used as a pesticide as well. And also we are working with BMKG, also Stockholm Environment Institute, to run the climate fuel school. And we continue working on this in this year as well. And so what we have been doing this was, I think, frugal innovation. We use existing technology. And what next 3-4 years we are planning to do is a deep tech. So we still working on this deep social problem. It's energy for farmer, climate change. But we want to work on the advanced technology. So for example, blockchain or smart glass or augmented reality. So today, Fabian talk about this blockchain and our biogas. Then I didn't explain about our motto in SHURIKO. We call it Think Do Be Tank. So as I already told you and explained, we are not only working on the think tank activity. We're not only doing research, but we also working on the actual implementation of the biogas digester. We also doing the coffee chocolate business, and we supporting policy. So think do be. So this landmark project, Injury will explain, it's more scientific research on the decarbonization. And then this IKI project is real implementation. We want to connect to the carbon offsetting with biogas. And the tipping plus is more social and policy issue. And we hopefully have the same impact as Green Win. We hopefully contributing to the policy making process in Indonesia. So then we can achieve the low carbon development in Indonesia. Thank you very much. So this is our coffee product.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Takeshi Takama, for the presentation. I think it's a good overview and introduction of what SHURIKO is, our motto, and what are our ongoing and upcoming projects that will be further presented by our research team. Again, just a kind reminder for all the participants to please rename your account with your name, your name of your organization as it is shown in the chat box. And again, if you have any question about Dr. Takeshi Takama presentation about tipping point, climate change, and also SHURIKO projects, please submit it through slido.com and you can enter this number. And you can also go to chat box and click the link that is already provided. Okay, next we have our next introduction, project introduction by our research team. First, I would like to welcome Cynthia Ismail to present our Indonesia case study for Tipping Plus project. And the presentation is titled Transformative Narratives in Clean Energy Transition. So please, Cynthia Ismail, the time and place is yours.
Okay, so thank you, Amanda, for your kind introduction. Apologies, I cannot use my video right now due to unstable connection, but I really honored to be meet all of the participants wherever you are. And for the next few minutes, I will explain more about the research under Tipping Plus project as one of our European Commission project. And the aim of this research is basically to provide empirical understanding how we can provide positive tipping points, as Tak already mentioned, particularly towards clean energy transition. And the research scope itself is actually driven by two reasons. First, as you may know, that deforestation is the main GHG contributor of the country. And under this project, we will focus on rural areas. And the second one, in terms of electricity sector, we particularly are concerned on the coal use. So starting from these two regions, coal and biogas usage, we plan to understand better starting from Banten and Bali, because we perceive that these two regions are interesting to study before we expand more on the national or country level. So in terms of the research, starting from these two regions, basically we aim first to understand the recent past, understanding what's been done in terms of energy transition, also identifying the tipping capacities and intervention from all the relevant stakeholders operating in the sector, as well as assessing the effects of such interventions. Therefore, we've been doing a narrative and network analysis, and later on, to assess the effects, we aim to conduct a socio-economic modeling. And as Tuck briefly explained about the tipping phenomena, in this case, through stakeholder engagement, when we do and we want to understand from the stakeholder perspective, we identify as I mentioned, the recent past, their capacity, intervention, and visioning that guide the behavior, the decision making of the relevant stakeholders, so that the current situation could generate a positive tipping point that we expect. In this case, towards clean energy. And later on, that our research consortium will assess in interdisciplinary manner. So up until this point, from our stakeholder engagement through interviews and some events, including kickoff workshop last March with Landmark and EQ project, as well as observation and desk research, we already generate stakeholder mapping as well as mainstream narrative to understand who that operate the sector and understanding the current situation, which are carbon coal and carbon intensive. So starting from stakeholder mapping, so far we defined based on three environment. First, a policy, market or supply chain of the energy, as well as the business environment. So I think many of you are already aware that policy environment are operated by the governmental organization. We also have many companies, organizations that ensure to deliver energy up until the end users, in this case, us as the community. Also, we have the organization like support and facilitate to make sure that and optimize the energy sector. And this just an example for up until this now, and then this might be expanded along the research progress. So for the current situation as the mainstream, this I just take as example, Bali, as many regions maybe also experience that we still depend highly on coal, also Tak already mentioned, in addition to oil. But particularly for Bali, its electricity is supplied by Java Island. That's why we think it's relevant to also integrate with Banten as well. And gas is coming. Meanwhile, on other side, we also have renewable energy that's also identified potentially in the region of Bali. And for this FGD, I would like to invite all of the participants, if you are interested, together we can define what kind of alternative or renewable energies that could transform the current situation, in this case, mainstream energy. And by first, we agree on what kind of technology that could potentially transform the current situation. And from that, we define who the actors and why do you think so, by looking at the resources that they have. And I can explain to you further during the FGD. So I'm looking forward for your insightful information so that we can enrich together the transition of energy of Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cynthia, for the brief introduction of Indonesia case study for Tipping Plus project. For everyone, as Cynthia mentioned, please do bear in mind the objective for the FGD. All of the information that have been presented will be really useful for the room 1 for Tipping Plus on clean energy transition transformative narrative. Again, if you have any question about Cynthia's presentation, please do put it in Slido. Next, I would like to welcome Siti Indriani to present about Indonesia case study for a landmark project. And the presentation is titled Land-Based Mitigation Technologies and Practices. Please.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda. And thank you for Dr. Takeshi and Cynthia for the presentation. And then good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Pak Arif. Good afternoon for national stakeholders and local stakeholders. It's such an honor for me to present in front of all of you. So I would like to present about one of our projects. The title is Landmark. Landmark is Land Use Based Mitigation for Resilient Climate Pathways. It's a 4-year project. It started in July 2020 and it will finish in 2024. So the case study of Indonesia is the carbonization from compost, including biogas. SHURIKO is the case study leader in this project. There are 16 organizations, 16 partners, and 16 countries in this project. And then there are Indonesia, Vietnam, and Nepal for ASEAN countries. So I will explain about this project and then what is our case study in the next following slides. And then for the landmark scope, we're working on negative emission technologies and practices, or NETPS. So for negative emission technologies, we're working on biomass or photosynthesis based. And then for negative emission practices, we're working on land management practices. So there are BECCS, bioenergy and carbon capture storage, and biochar for negative emission technologies. And there are forestry, agriculture, grassland, wetland or peatland, and other land for land management practices. So this is the landmark scope within this project. And then there are 3 case studies. I would explain about Indonesian case studies in the next slide. So the aim of our case study is to understand the impact of LMT or land-based mitigation technologies potential at case study. And for the scope will be at local level and can be upscaled to the national level. There are some research questions. For example, what are the impacts of land-based mitigation technologies implementation and how to assess LMT at local level? There are 4 methodologies in this project. We're working on, or we will use Earth observation or remote sensing. And then there are 4 modelings. The first one is climate, and then land use, economic, and the last one is Earth observation. So we will do assessment of climate resilience, and then we will assess the co-benefits and trade-offs of each LMT or LMT in the national level. And we will conduct stakeholders engagement with national, local, and regional stakeholders. For Indonesia case study, as I mentioned before, our case study is the carbonization through compost and biogas. And Fabian will explain about our biogas technology, about our biogas installation. And then for biogas and compost, it would fit the landmark project in the 1st and 5th category. The first one is agriculture and agroforestry, and the 5th one is biogenic waste management. And then our case studies are the small scale biogas and compost in Bali and Bajawa, medium scale and large scale compost in Bali. For landmark modeling, there are some modeling partners in our consortium. So this is the example of our modeling. So for Earth observation or remote sensing, we will conduct in situ sampling or in situ measurement, remote sensing, and then we will assess air quality and then gas measurement, and then these will be the input for land use model, for example, DASEN, LandSIF, and LSIS, economic model, and climate model. And then we will have sustainable land management assessment, as well as the climate risk sensitivity assessment in this project. So these are some expected results in landmark. The first one is national and regional negative emission solutions, assessment of effectiveness, climate and co-benefit, and dissemination and publication. So this workshop is one of dissemination tools in our project. So these are the current progress of Indonesian case study. We did pre-model matchmaking and pre-data collection. So we submitted some pre-data collection to modeling partners, and then we did LMT scoping, and we're doing LMT narratives through stakeholders mapping and stakeholders engagement. So through this progress, we would like to invite all stakeholders in the national level or local level to collaborate with us in this project. We can do project collaboration, assessment and modeling, narrative collection, dissemination and publication, or international workshop. We plan to have 1 to 2 international workshops every year. And this is our result of LMT scoping. So based on our study and our stakeholders engagement, so we will not include BCCS or bioenergy and carbon capture storage and biochar in Indonesian land-based mitigation technologies, since these technologies are not existed. And then for land management, we will divide into 4 sectors. The first one is forestry, agriculture, peatland, and soil carbon enhancement. So biogas and compost will be included in soil carbon enhancement. So in the FGD or the breakout room session, we will discuss about land use mitigation technologies and practices, and we will collect the narratives of local, national, or other organizations about policy context, and then land use competition, land use change, and LMT or land-based mitigation technologies, and climate risk sensitivities, economic implication, co-benefits and trades-off, and the last one is risk associated with scaling up. For example, how to scale up one LMT at local level to be the national level. So we'll discuss in the breakout room. So looking forward for our discussion. So these are some stakeholders that we already coordinated or had meetings before. So there are national stakeholders, local stakeholders, as well as NGOs and companies. So looking forward to discussion, and then looking forward to potential collaboration that we can conduct in the future. So this is the summary of my presentation. So for landmark, we're working on earth observation, modeling such as land use, climate, and economic, and then we will assess climate risk assessment and LMT narratives in national level, and we'll conduct stakeholders engagement. For LMT or land-based mitigation in Indonesia, we will divide into 4 sectors: forestry, peatland, agriculture, and soil carbon enhancement. So this is my presentation. Thank you very much. Yeah, I will stop my share screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you see my screen? Okay. Thank you very much, Indri, for the presentation. As Indri has stated, for the FGD room on landmark, land-based mitigation technologies and practices, we'll be focusing on collecting the narrative scenarios and the modeling for land use mitigation. Next, we have Fabian to present about our most recently awarded project by IKI Small Grant GIZ, and the presentation is titled Biogas Initiative, funded by Carbon Offset with Blockchain. Please, Fabian, the mic is yours.
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Can you make it into
screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Amanda. Good afternoon, everyone. Allow me to briefly introduce myself. My name is Fabian. I'm a research assistant here at SHURIKO, working mainly in the research team and the engineering team, creating biogas digesters. And so I would like to first thank everyone who's here today, Bapnas for inviting us and for us to be able to host this event. I'd like to thank the Open Government coordinators, especially Ichi, for arranging this event, and also Pa Arif. Thank you very much for coming here today with us. I see a lot of familiar faces. Those who joined our previous workshop. I see Buhadis. I also see BMKG, Pa Rahmat. Welcome. Now we also have new faces, familiar and unfamiliar. We have a lot of university students and lecturers. Also, Green School, welcome. For those who weren't here in the previous workshop, don't worry, I will recap the project quite similarly. However, I will close this presentation with additional information for those who were there at the previous workshop, so that we can get to it. And today I'm going to present our project, an upcoming project that is not yet started, which is called Biogas Initiative for Agriculture in Bali and Flores, funded by Carbon Offset. So let me begin immediately down to our biogas journey as a recap of what we've done and what we're doing. I think the why bit is already explained, so we're not going too deep there. Biogas is a very promising renewable energy, especially for the beneficiaries, mainly farmers, receiving biogas and bioslurry. We have, in SHURIKO, we have started since 2016 to create the most user-friendly version to address technical issues and maintenance issues so that farmers can use biogas continuously, as a video that Tak has shown. And to illustrate, we have installed this over 25 across Flores Islands in Bajawa and Bali, various places. And now this also included our previous designs. We recreated, recalibrated, and redesigned. And now the biggest question is, how can we actually scale up at a faster rate with a demand of millions of digesters across Indonesia, considering that 30% of this nation's population are farmers, or those who need biogas digesters. And this is where the blockchain version comes in. So I will explain a bit more detail perhaps later in the breakout sessions or in the questions. In essence, we have a technology that already exists, and how can we scale that up in a financially sustainably way, and also in a way that farmers can keep using the biogas, because oftentimes the technical barrier is not the biggest barrier of implementation. However, social is as important as well to take into account. And how does blockchain help become a medium of all this? Well, to put it simply, blockchain is not the key, or it's not the guaranteed success part, but it's a tool. It's a deep technology that is more useful beyond Bitcoin, beyond cryptocurrency. And what happens is, this is what we plan to do. We want to connect biogas to a carbon trading scheme. Biogas is a useful technology for these farmers, but it is also a massive greenhouse gas emissions reduction tool. So how can we can measure a carbon offset value from the biogas, connect that to a carbon trading scheme without certification costs. And if you all know certification costs, in a previous workshop, we covered this, we asked it, and a lot of you did not answer correctly. Roughly, certifications can cost up to 200,000 euros, which is quite unrealistic if we want to have that financially go through mostly to the beneficiaries. Meaning, if we can sell transparent data out of this biogas data, then we can cut certification costs and also provide more trustworthy product. And this is what blockchain is. We can connect the data from our biogas transparently in a system that cannot be mutated, that is immutable, and then sell that. We have acknowledged in the previous workshop that someone raised the concerns of the environmental impact of blockchain, which is apparent and it's not false. However, we've taken this into account. So the way we are going to approach the blockchain, for sure, the emissions generated by the blockchain will be considered as part of the emission reduction of the biogas. And we try to aim for blockchain systems that, first of all, is private and does not allow competitive mining, which already reduces heavily the hardware costs and the electricity generated. So this is a bit some technical details that I can leave for later, just to clarify. And then finally, to replace certifications, of course, we need some form of legitimacy and trust towards our product. And that is where publications come in to talk about a carbon offset and to talk about this whole scheme. And so, yes, it's a cool tech, and I want to emphasize back again to what Tak said in his presentation, which is using deep technology to provide social meaning. And the two biggest problems was financing biogas and incentivizing farmers. And in this case, once we cut certification fee and provide real-time measurement, we can gain income the revenue generated from the carbon offset is something we can offer to the farmers, hence incentivize them to use it beyond the biogas and biostar that they are already receiving. So this becomes a win-win solution to the country, to the farmers, and to everyone involved, to those purchasing the carbon emissions. And this is why the blockchain becomes provides such value to this whole scheme. And so our output by next year is that we are going to install 40 more digesters. We're going to create the platform, and alongside BMKG, we'll host another climate field school with these 40 farmers as a capacity building measure. Now, to close this presentation, I will end with, okay, where can we, for those watching and interested, whether you're a student, or whether you're an actual biogas implementation partner, whether you're a tech savvy, a blockchain developer, where can we collaborate? How can we intersect our interests and find a way that we can synergize our activities, whether that's developing a blockchain, reaching out to farmers? These are things that I'm interested to talk about in the focus group discussion or in the breakout group session later. So anyone who's interested in blockchain or biogas, come to room 3, and I'm very happy to discuss where we can move forward for this country's implementation of biogas digesters. That's all. Thank you very much. I'll pass the mic back to Amanda.
Thank you, Fabian, for the presentation. And also to end up with great ending on to ask the question where we can collaborate. Just to kind reminder for all of you who have joined in the middle, the objective for today's workshop is not only to introduce SHURIKO and its project, but also to find where and how SHURIKO could support and contribute in Indonesia policy process in relation to clean energy transition and decarbonization. Again, we have had about 4 presentations by now, and some of you may have some questions. Please do go to slido.com. We already received some of them. We will collect them, the questions and the comments, and discuss it right after the FGD. Okay, now that everyone is getting familiar and with SHURIKO and its projects, we will move on to focus group discussion. Similar to our goal for today's workshop, the objective is to synergize the planning and the potential collaboration with all stakeholders. Whereas for the format itself, as I've mentioned before, it will be divided into 3 rooms, each focusing on the project that have been presented by our research team. And it will be a 25 minutes FGD session. The first 10 minutes, we will gather all the inputs for all the participants and stakeholders who have joined us here today, and then we will discuss it further. And each room have more specific discussion on a different topic. So for the room 1, as Cynthia mentioned, it will be focusing on the transformative narrative, more specifically on the finding out the technology, actors, and resources on the Indonesia clean energy transition. And for room 2, it will be facilitated by Indri, focusing on the Indonesia case study for a landmark. The discussion will be mainly focusing on collecting the narrative, the modeling, and scenarios on land use mitigation in Indonesia. And room 3 will be facilitated by Fabian, focusing on the biogas initiative, as you learned from his last slide, finding on biogas implementation partner, also blockchain development, also a variety of all of that. Okay, for the technical itself, we give the freedom for participants to choose which room you like to join. And you can do that by looking at this procedure. You can just go to the breakout room icons and choose which room you want to go to, and just click join and then click yes. So since this is a 25 minutes FGD session, the first 5 minutes will be for you to move around between rooms and to explore which room was suitable for your interests. And after that 5 minutes, we kindly ask you to stay in that same room so that we can have more focused discussion on each project. Okay, does anyone have any technical question, then maybe I can answer before we go on to FGD session. We'll just go to, or you can just go to reaction and ask question. Maybe I could help answer from there. Sorry. If not, no question in the chat box as well. Okay, if not, then our team, the operator, Okta, will open up all the rooms, and you can just click out the breakout room and then choose which room you'll join. Okay, then. Now the rooms have been opened. Okay, we'll see you in 25 minutes back in this general room. Thank you. And if any of you have any question, please stay in this general room and ask Okta as the operator for this breakout room session. Thank you.